This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. As you can see, we have a mother cheetah with two youngsters here, two cubs. But I'm glad you are joining us for our live safari this afternoon. Hello everyone. As I said, welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Clive, and behind the camera we have Marcel today. And as I said, have a look at these beautiful cheetah we've managed to find here. So this is a mother cheetah, the one standing up, and her two cubs that are lying flat down in the shade there. And I know you probably can't see too well from that angle, but the mother's actually, the mother and one of the cubs is actually feeding on an impala there, just behind those bushes. So this is really, really special for us. And since we've been doing these WildEarth safaris, we have not seen these cheetah. So it's really, really special for us. The last time they were seen and the last time I saw them was around about a month and a half or 2 months ago. And they were quite far from here. They were probably about 20 kilometers from here. They were about 20 kilometers away from here. And they seem to have come all the way down here. But we're going to stay with these cheetah. For now, we're going to link you across to James with something special.
Hello everybody, look at this magnificently special bird that we have here. Now I know he's quite difficult to see, and that's because the sun is going to set behind that tree, and so he's in a bit of silhouette. But what this is an African harrier hawk, and it's a youngster. And if you look very carefully, you can just see him fiddling there with his foot. And he's got a long leg, and he's sticking it into all the holes and cracks and crevices in the branch of that marula tree, and he's looking for anything there made of meat. There, look at his long legs. He looks like a ramp model. And he's got a particular way with nestling birds. So what he's really looking for, especially in summer, not so much this time of the year, is holes in trees that have nestling birds in them, like woodpeckers or barbets, or what else nests in trees? Kingfishers, that sort of thing. But right now, he'll happily take a lizard, probably a beetle grub, or anything else like that. And you can see how long his legs are, and they're also very bendy. So that joint in the middle of his legs bends both ways. It's a little bit like having a knee that bends both ways, or an ankle that bends both ways. Makes me sore just thinking about it. Now, if you listen very carefully, you can hear the squirrels and also dwarf mongoose around here. They've all spotted that bird, even though the squirrels over there and the birds over there, There we go. He spotted that bird and he knows it's a predator and he's warning his friends and all the other animals around here. My name is James Henry. On camera today is BK. And you can send us any questions, of course, to the... forgotten how to do this now. I think the email address is questions or kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. There we go. Kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. First 45 minutes dedicated to the kids. All right, so he's gone into the thicker part of that tree. Our plan this afternoon is to go down towards the central parts of Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is where we are now, which is on the western fringes of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, and we're going to try and find ourselves a leopard. In the meantime, let us go a long, long way to the northwest of the country to the Kalahari Desert.
How's it, everyone? Great having you with us. It's Tswalu Kalahari here. It's Genre and myself. We are again sitting in some random hole in the ground here at a waterhole, and we've put some like little logs and branches in the front over here, and we're just going to see what comes down this afternoon. It's super exciting. It's amazing having you with us. Please talk to us, ask questions, don't be shy, and well done on the millipede legs this morning. Those of you who get mice and rats or hamsters for Christmas, it's a great thing. There's some giraffe coming in to drink here, or they're actually just watching us. They were drinking at the water about 15-20 minutes ago, so I think now they're just curious. But look at this. Guys, just apologies. Also, we are sitting in the hole here. We don't have the cameras on tripods or anything, so if there's a little bit of instability here and there, it is entirely my fault. Genre is absolved. Hey, what a setting. This is the way to start an afternoon. Just going to see, she actually drank about 15 minutes ago, just on the other side of the waterhole, across to our left. So straight behind that one, you might see those heads of the other giraffe sticking above the trees. They're doing a bit of what appears to be a bit of play fighting. You just see their heads sticking out every now and again. So we're just going to spend as much time here as we need this afternoon. So just enjoy it with us, and we will be around.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your live safari in the afternoon. We're Game Reserve, and we've just spotted this fascinating thing up in this marula tree here. But first things first, my name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera, and we have a snakeskin. Not a snake. I don't know where the snake is, but the skin is here. And what's touched it yet, but it looks intact. You can see that it's clinging on to this part of the marula tree. Not only are marulas my favorite tree, but I also really love snakes. It looks like a small snake, but snakes regularly shed their skin. Their entire bodies are covered with scales, all snakes. And this is to help protect them, like armor, if you like. And it also helps regulate their temperatures. Remember, snakes are cold-blooded. We, as mammals, are warm-blooded. And that's exactly why they do have scales. But in order to shed their skin, they need to be on a rough surface or something jagged and crooked. And you can see that's exactly what it's done there. Right there. Well done, Davy. You see it's hooked its body onto this sharp bit and then probably pulled its body out of this old skin. That's why it's used this marula tree. Now, the skin is just cells, layer upon layer of keratin, continuously built up to allow the snake to grow as well. And that's all you're looking at, dead skin cells of a snake. Not terribly exciting, but the snake has to be somewhere around. And it's winter here. Although we have gorgeous blue skies and a sun, it's really not that warm. And therefore, we don't snakes too much in winter, but this here proves that they are around, and they actually shed their skin a few times a year in order to get bigger. You can identify snakeskin by looking at the entire sort of piece, but unfortunately we can only see this little piece here just sticking out. It looks like plastic, doesn't it? I actually thought it was plastic, that's why I stopped, but it's not. It's really, really not. And when a snake is ready to shed, you'll actually see its eye go completely cloudy. It looks like something's wrong with its eye, but it's not. That's just the sort of skin that's protecting the eye because they don't have eyelids. And that also needs to shed. And therefore, it starts to go cloudy first, and that's when you know that your snake is ready to shed. It's actually like taking off a sock. Kind of. A scaly sock, a keratin sock. And keratine's a protein that's very, very prevalent in the animal kingdom, and we have it in our own body, including our fingernails and our hair. So it's a very strong material in the animal kingdom. Okay, so I'm going to bumble on to see what else I can find for you all today, but you guys are going to go back across to the cheetah and her little cubs.
Welcome back again, everyone. So a little bit has changed while you've been gone, and the mother has finished feeding and she's moved off ever so slightly, and now it's just one of the cubs that's now moved to the impala and is now eating around the impala there. But remember, it's time for all the kids' questions, so please remember to send through your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. I'd love to hear from you. Also, because it's just so special to see cheetah in general, but especially young cheetah like this. Hello, Emily. There are two here. There's one that you can see very clearly, and then just behind that one is the second one that is busy feeding at the moment. So there's two altogether. But the interesting thing is that this mother, the last time I saw her, had three. So something has happened to one of them along the way. More than likely something maybe like a lion or a hyena or even a leopard. Unfortunately with cheetah it happens quite a lot. But at least there's still two that are still strong, and they're growing up very quickly. And now they're probably in the region of about 7 or maybe even 8 months old. So they're getting older, they're getting wiser as they get older as well, learning how to escape and stay away from some of those bigger predators. Hello, Ryan. That is a very good question. How many how many babies does a mother have in her lifetime? So they start having babies in the region of about 3 years old or so, and even 2.5, let's say 3 years old, and they will have a litter of cubs, let's say every 2 years. So, and they can live till about 15. So that is in the region of about 6 litters of cubs in their lifetime. Often with cheetah mothers, when they're young, they're not very experienced. They don't know the best way of keeping their cubs safe. So often the first try is not usually as successful. But as they get older, sometimes, when I first started here, I remember there was a mother cheetah with 4 cubs, and she got all of them up to adulthood. All 4, so that's very impressive. I think we're going to spend a little bit of time with these cheetah though. Let's see what they get up to today.
I'm just going to talk nice and softly. We've got this beautiful cow giraffe that's about to drink. She's as cautious as ever coming down to the water. That's perfectly normal. And we're not going to look at them now because we don't want to move. But there's more giraffe coming in from the right-hand side. So we're just going to sit very, very patiently. We're not going to make any noises, any sudden movements. This is just incredibly special to watch this. Look. There we go. That long tongue sticking out every now and again. Now she'll always be careful coming down to water. There's no crocodiles in these areas in the Kalahari. Look at that. Gareth, they actually don't wear a bow tie at the bottom or the top of the neck. They wear a bow tie in the middle of the neck. It's a little known fact, but that's just the way it is. Oh, what a beautiful sighting. So we're sitting almost at ground level, not quite, we're a little bit above ground level. But it's just a lovely angle and a different angle to get for wildlife. And we are quite safe where we're sitting. There shouldn't be any threat, although about 45 minutes ago, I say an hour ago, there were 5 buffalo actually standing in this water right where the giraffe is drinking, but they walked in almost up to their bellies inside the water here. Now watch when she lifts her head, how the water sprays. I love that. You'll see when she comes up now. See a lot of pressure needed, sucking pressure needed to get that water all the way up the neck. See, if that was me drinking, I would have just fallen over forward. Obviously, you've got a lot more grace than I have. I love the way they splay their legs. Paige, who is 10, has just asked a really cool question. Why doesn't she bend her legs? And Paige, sometimes they do actually bend their legs. And it's quite a fun thing to do with people. When a giraffe comes down to drink, you can kind of take bets. Because sometimes they actually bend both the front legs when they drink. This that we're seeing, the way this one's drinking is the normal way. Sometimes they'll bend both legs. Other times they bend one leg and not the other one. So they've got kind of little variations on that. But this is the normal way that they'll drink. But they can bend the legs. Look how pale this giraffe is. You may notice that many of the ones down in the Djuma, Ngala, and even Phinda areas are a lot darker. And this is really an artifact of these very arid environments. There's a lot of glare. And that may have something to do with just blending into the environment. Evolved for these more open, arid areas. And it could even be possibly even for helping reduce their body temperatures, in other words, reflecting more heat. But that's just my opinion. So we're just going to spend a lot of time here this afternoon, so feel free to stick with us.
Look at this special bird we have here. It is a tiny little owl, and it is called a barred owlet. Owlet means small owl, and it's barred because of the markings that it has on its chest. Now, the barred owlet is one of 2 little owlets we get here. The other one is a very similar thing called a pearl-spotted owl. But he looks a little bit different, about the same size. And what's interesting is that this is a nocturnal owl, normally. And so to find him out like this is just great. And often, when you find an owl like this, you'll find a whole lot of very angry birds sitting all around it, and they'll be shouting because they don't want to be eaten. But this particular owl He's not, as far as I remember, particularly partial to other birds. I'm just going to check that. Yeah, does eat some birds, but mostly invertebrates, and also lizards and frogs. Now, he's not going to find many frogs now. He's not going to find a great number of invertebrates, but he'll find the old lizard sunning itself on a chilly winter afternoon, and that's probably what he's looking for now. Isn't he sweet? So it is mostly active at night, my information says. Here's quite interesting information. It says apparently it bathes regularly. That's quite fun. Hello, Ryan. I'm not sure what the smallest owl in the world is. I suspect if it isn't one of our small owlets, like the Scops owl, the African barred owl, or the pearl-spotted owl, I don't know what it would be. It's probably, may well be one of those, but you probably find that there's a smaller one somewhere else. But this is one of the smallest ones that we get here. I'll just check if it is in fact the smallest. So this one is only 21 centimeters long, which is very tiny. And the pearl spotted is 19 centimeters long, so that's even smaller. And then the Scops owl is 16. So our smallest owl here is 16 centimeters, which is half a foot, or 6 inches, and that's 65 grams. I have no idea how many ounces that is. My brain doesn't extend to being able to work that out. But 65 grams ain't a lot. It's a very small bird. All birds are slightly lighter than you'd expect them to be, except maybe ostriches, and that's because they fly, most of them. And in order to fly, their bones are almost hollow, so they're not big, thick bones like ours. Hello, Aaron. Its legs are not that short. They're much longer than you think they are. It's just haunched down on them. So basically, it's bent its legs and it's sitting down. It's like you going into a sort of squat position. That's how it's sitting. They don't have long legs, but they're long enough for them. You know, they don't need long legs. Long legs can be a bit of a hindrance. So you'll find long-legged birds either run, like a lapwing or an ostrich, or they stand in water like a heron or a stork, or like that African harrier hawk, they need the long legs to stick in to tree holes and that sort of thing. But a lot of birds, like this one, which uses its talons to catch things, actually don't have long legs, because if you had long legs, it becomes more difficult to grab something on the move. I'll just quickly show you a picture of the other owls. So if you look over here, you can see that the African barred owl, that's that one there, that's the one we had there, very similar to the pearl-spotted owl over there. And that's the tiny little Scops owl over there at 65 grams. Right, good stuff. Let's go not very far from here, off to the base of the Drakensberg Mountains, where Taylor is waiting to say hello.
Right, look at what we've got. We've got a whole bunch of trees for you because our giraffe has just moved away. Cheeky giraffe. But we are watching a couple of them as they just move around. And there's another one just walking off to the right. But we are here in Pridelands in Tswalu Game Reserve, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert, and it's very exciting to have you all here, so I look forward to answering all of your questions. But should we have a look at the giraffe? No, don't walk out of frame. The giraffe might disappear behind some trees, but we're going to stay seated here. Now, it's very interesting, but there's a question, so I shall answer the question first. And Hannah, I'm so thankful that you asked this question today, because I don't think I've ever seen a giraffe choking because of what they eat, but also giraffe are pretty picky eaters, and they normally eat on trees that have lots of thorns on them. So it's a bit difficult for them to be quite gutsy about the way that they go and eat. You know, I'd be wouldn't be surprised if something like a hyena were to choke, because they gobble down their food so fast. But giraffe, you can see them, they use their long tongues, and then they also just pick very gently with their lips. So they're feeding on, at the moment they were feeding on actually a lot of tortillas trees, or umbrella thorns, sorry, which giraffe love to feed on. And they've all been pushed over by the elephants. So they've got lots of prickles on them, so they're not going to want to eat those too quickly. But our giraffe has actually just moved out of the way. I wonder if I move forward a little bit, Chat. Do you think it'll be a bit better? Let me do that. I'm going to do a quick reposition, just because our giraffe... You'll see it now. It's just got behind some trees. And this is actually a very area. I'm so glad that we found some giraffe here, because I've been wanting to have, I'm going to go a little bit further forward, I've been wanting to have some sightings in this area. So those of you that know the brief history of Pridelands, you know that it was once a fenced off reserve, so it wasn't the greater Kruger ecosystem like it now is. And where these giraffe are, basically between where I am sitting and where they are standing, there used to be a fence. And for many, many, many years, elephants were never able to come into this area. So you can see, and we will hopefully show you a nice comparison. You saw how open it is? And look at how thick the vegetation is on this side. Can you see that? So all those trees have been pulled down by elephants and naturally turning it into an open area. But the elephants have obviously for the last 3 years have been able to come into Pridelands and now been eating their way around. But that's much prettier, and it's a much more suited area for the giraffe. They're quite happy that they've got all the nice tall trees to feed on. What are you eating now? There's lots of smaller acacia species of trees here, and that's what they typically like to feed on. But she's also got a bit of a stumpy tail. I'm sure you also saw that. Look at her. She's missing extra length and all the long hair. We've been seeing lots of animals with stumpy tails. Again, not really sure what could have happened. Maybe something like a hyena hassled her, or even lions maybe tried to get her at some point in her life. But she made an escape. But also a very old injury, and it's just a bit of a nuisance now that she can't swat the flies very well. There you go. She's just staring back over at us now. But isn't it such a pretty view? With the two with an apple leaf and a leadwood tree just lining her, making this giraffe look very, very small. Right, we're going to carry on and see what other wonderful animals we can find for you today. Off you go to say hello to Nikki.
So warm welcome to everyone. We're here at andBeyond in Ngala, and we just want to see if we can point out to you this very interesting animal that we've just found. Or not us, it's actually Rowan, Barney and Sean that went out this afternoon, and they were able to find it. So if you look through the leaves, you'll notice there's a particular spot pattern, like these dark rosette spots with a little bit of like a cream wash, and that is from a leopard. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Owen just to move the camera a little bit out, and we're going to try and reposition the vehicle because he's basically just sitting on that side of the tree. So early on, so I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala, and with me on the camera is Owen. So what we're going to do from here is we're just going to creep around this bush, and we might get a better glimpse of this leopard. So hold on, Owen, to everything. You ready? Can I move there, Owen? All good. Okay. So he is lying down at the moment. Just going to slowly move forward, because the biggest thing is we don't want to disturb him. So let's move like this. And all I'm going to do, I can actually see him now. So I'm going to move forward here, and then we're just going to reposition. He's just off to our left. So just bear with me as we move here. But he is a beautiful leopard. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to try and just reposition our vehicle. There we go. Just like the tiny touch more. There we go. So, and you'll be able to hopefully get him right now. There he is. So this is one of the young male leopards that we often refer to as the young son of a female called the Tswalu female. Now, Tswalu is the Shangaan wort, which is a bushveld gardenia. So it's a very beautiful tree with a beautiful, like quite a big round white flower. And she was born in that particular stretch of the river, or that drainage line, and then after that the youngsters, when we do refer to them, we just refer to her or the particular area where they normally occur in. But it's definitely also one of my favorite of the big cats. I mean, cheetah are definitely my number one, and leopard is right next to them. So he is 1 year and round about 2 months old. And how I know that is because most of the rangers here has actually seen him when he was a very, very young cub. So probably when he was around 2 months old, when he would have started moving with mom. And even before that is when they saw him. So we basically estimate, I mean, when we say 1 year and 2 months, it's basically just an estimate of what we think how old he might be. He might be a month or two older. He might be a month younger. But around about that's going to be the age that we've grouped them in. The other way to tell how old the leopard is let's go through this together. So if you look at this leopard's face, you'll notice that it's still quite small in comparison to the ears. And then you'll see with the ears, it's still perfect. Often the older leopards get, the more they get these little tears out of their ears. And also, I'm hoping that he might just lift his face out of the grass so we can see his nose. Now, often, it's not always the case, and I mean, it's a good estimate to use, but it doesn't work with all leopards. But normally, the younger they are, the more pink they have around their nose. Just look at that. Look at those long whiskers. Now, those whiskers would basically be used as a ruler. So as he's moving, he'll use that and size up the area and make sure that if he makes too much noise, he might spook whatever's in front of him. So he's just using that almost as a ruler to see, would he be able to move through and will he make a lot of noise? I wonder if he spotted something, because you can see the way that he's moving. Let's just carefully watch him. I wonder if it's not maybe a possible bird, maybe a scrub hare. You can see he's trying to be as quiet as possible, putting almost each foot into the other track, okay? All I'm going to do is let's just quickly wait and see what he does. Oh, you know what it is? He actually... So I'm just going to move my head out of the way. But he was creeping forward like that, and what I'm going to try and do is I just want to give him 1 or 2 more seconds just to see what he's up to. But he actually spotted a rock earlier. And the rock had quite a bit of grass around it, so I'm sure he didn't know exactly what it was. That's why he was probably creeping a bit closer. But let's just give it a minute or so, because there might be something else. I think there might be something else. He's moving around. Okay, so we don't see him at the moment, but there is a little clearing right through here where we might see the movement of him. And what I'm going to do from here, I don't see anything in the back. But we're going to just... Oh! It was 2 Franklins that he actually tried to go for. So there was I think it was crested Franklins, and he was sneaking up to them. They were all huddled down into this bush. And of course, being a young leopard, he got so excited, he started running way too early. And then, I've actually held my breath. I hoped he'd catch something, but there he is. So that was him trying to hunt those 2 Franklins. I thought earlier on it might have been a bird. I'm just going to lower my head out of the way because he's basically right in front of us. And what's strange is normally like he is with his mother and his sister, and it seems to me he's all by himself. Now the reason might be that the mother and the sister, or the mother could have gone hunting and he decided to go and explore the little area. He's still very young, so he's not really territorial at all. So I think for now, we're going to follow him for the next little while and see if there's any chance of him possibly looking out for opportunities to hunt. But I think while we do that, we're going to send you back to James with some elephants. And I hope everyone can just say hi to James for me.
This is very exciting. What a drive we've had so far. Here are some elephants, and they are feeding in a little riverbed here, where the grass is still quite green, and so are the leaves. And while we enjoy this elephant, I'll just quickly tell you that the smallest owl in the world, I know I was asked that and I didn't know, is in fact an owl called the elf owl from the USA and Mexico. And it's a little bit smaller than our Scops owl, which is great, and I was told that by my friend Brent. 12 to 13 centimetres is the elf owl of the USA and Mexico. Thank you, Brent. Leo Smith. Now, what's interesting about this elephant is that she's lost a bit of her tusk there. Now, that's a little bit like having your front tooth knocked in half, which is not a great deal of fun. But if you look carefully on the end of it, it's not exposed the nerve. So whatever injury caused the breaking of that tusk, probably she was using it to crack some roots or something like that. It probably wasn't that sore, and it certainly won't be hurting her anymore. Now, we're actually surrounded by elephants. It's just that they're in some pretty thick bush at the moment. And I'm just going to be quiet and you'll be able to hear them feeding. Here comes the young bull. In fact, I think that's a cow. Yeah. There she comes. Yeah, it's a big cow. Hannah, an elephant can get up to around about 6 tons, that's 6,000 kilograms, or 13,000 pounds odd. Now, this elephant has just suddenly decided that it can see us. And what she was doing before, she had her head down. She could hear that we were here, but probably hadn't really picked where we are. And you saw her lift her head up there, just to say, oh, I see you. But now she's carrying on feeding, so she's perfectly relaxed. I'm just going to keep my voice nice and low so that she doesn't get a fright. So the big bulls weigh about 6 tons, Hannah, which is huge. But the cows, probably a little bit smaller than that, probably around about 4,500 kilograms for a really big cow.
Now we have an adult African Harrier hawk. I think at the start of the show, James showed you a juvenile. And it's the same species, it's the same bird. Oh, I think this one is slightly windswept. Look at that hairdo, everyone. But the juveniles look very different. The one James showed you was brown, different coloration, same body shape. Also got those bars at the bottom of the tail, but it's very, very different in its juvenile phase when it's young than it is when it's an adult. Sorry, the feathers on the head are making me laugh here. It's slightly windy up in that tree, I think. But this is definitely an adult. You can tell by the coloration, the facial colour as well. They've got a beautiful sort of yellow, orange, red colours on the face, grey markings, and a white tail bar. And normally they're fine poking their heads in holes in trees and looking for all sorts of food, from eggs to small little birds, I'm afraid, especially the likes of little waxbills. And they'll also eat small mammals, reptiles, and even frogs. So they're definitely... Oh, there's 2 little birds that just landed above it, Darby. Fini, you're 13 years old and you're asking how to identify a bird. I'm going to be really honest with you, and it's not very easy. When I first started learning birds, I found it really, really difficult, especially from far away. Now, I think Davy can give you a view of this bird from far away if he zooms out. There we go. See, it's getting more. Oh. And from where we are right now, it just looks like a branch. So I actually had to get my binos out. And the best thing to do is start to pick out key features. Look at the size. Look at the beak. Look at the talons. Look at the shape. Coloration doesn't normally matter so much, but a bird of prey, a raptor, like what we have here, they are normally quite easy to identify because they're big. They've got a very, very sharp beak because they're carnivores. And they've also got very sharp talons. Now, for the likes of eagles, you can normally tell an eagle because they've got feathers going all the way down to their feet, if you like. So you've just got to pick out key features of birds, and that's the best way to do it. Alana, you're asking, why is the bird's head red? I don't know why it's red, Alana, but it is, and that's just the coloration of the African harrier hawks. It's got red sort of around the eyes, and then it eventually fades to yellow near the beak, and that's just a very easily identifiable key feature of the African harrier hawk. But as to why, I'm really not sure. If you can remember at the very start of show, James Juvenile didn't have a red face, so it changes with age, similar to other birds, just like the Batelier. You can see it's perching, it's looking in this tree, it will look in holes. We're around a dam, we're around a water body. So it will also be looking on the ground for any sort of delicious aquatic insects, frogs, small lizards. Most raptors, most birds of prey have really keen eyesight. So they're able just to stay perched and look on the ground to see what delicious delicacy they can find. Okay, so we're going to continue looking around this waterhole. Very often there's lots to see, and as I do that, we are going to send you back across to those two spotty cats.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see now, two of these cheetah have moved away from the carcass, and we've actually just repositioned ourselves a little bit away from the other cub that is still feeding, just because this mother and the one cub are lying right out in the open for us. Hi, Hannah. No, cheetah can't eat plants. The most they will go about with that, I don't know if you've seen like even your house cat or your house dog that eats a bit of grass to help it digest, or they often end up actually throwing it up. That's the most that cheetah will do, but no, not for nutrients or to stay alive. They won't be able to eat any plant matter, no. They have to eat, like now they're eating an impala, but they will always try and hunt anything that's relatively small, like an impala or a female nyala. In this area, we've got quite a few of those. Some of the slightly smaller antelope, even down to the size of like a scrub hare rabbit. That's the smallest kind of prey they will go for. How cute are those little young ones, though? Reese, yes, a hyena would definitely try and steal like now, let's say this impala, for instance, when the mother killed it, you know, there might have been a bit of noise. Now that they've started feeding, there might be some smells going around, which could, could bring in other predators that would be willing to steal it. But that would be all the predators, lion, leopard, or hyena. And all three of them, because they're more powerful than a cheetah, they would be able to steal it from her. She would have to run away with her cubs and get to safety and let the hyenas or whatever it is steal her kill, unfortunately. But that's how it works. But they're very well adapted for dealing with that as well. So you see all of them, the mother and the cub, even though now they're not eating and they're resting, see how they've got their heads up and they're constantly looking around, which means that they are, they know that there could be other animals around that maybe smelt it or seen this, and they want to make 100% sure that they see them coming so they can run away really quickly if they do see something coming. There's actually even, just behind our vehicle, there's actually an elephant as well. Thank you so much for all the kids for sending through their questions. That's really, really nice. And the ones I had anyway were really cool questions. But now we invite everyone to send through their questions. It'll be great to hear from you. If you have a look at the cub, the youngster, see how on the back of its head, how there's so much extra fur and hair on the back of its head. So a few weeks ago, we were filming a female cheetah with some very, very small little cheetah cubs, very young. And those ones were only about 3 months old, and they were, if some of you who were watching might remember, they were just like little balls of fluff. So much fur. But then slowly, these ones are about 3 or 4 months older, and you see how much of that fur they've lost already. There's still quite a bit on the back of the head, but all that rest of that extra fur on the rest of the body is all gone now. And also, while we're on that baby, have a look at the size of that belly. It's like it ate a little soccer ball or something. Really, really full little belly. And that impala there is actually there's still quite a lot of meat, so they could even be here until tomorrow morning or even afterwards, which is really nice. Anyway, we'll sit here a little bit longer with these cheetah and see if anything exciting happens and send you off on the rest of your safari.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
We're having the best kind of interaction here with a young bull elephant who's decided that he finds us quite interesting. And see, he's being called, or there's another elephant saying something behind him, going... So he's kind of torn between the entertainment provided by us and the herd behind him. He's a youngish bull, but he's old enough to be on his own, so I don't think he's going to pay a huge amount of heed to any instruction he receives from a matriarch. If you look at his trunk, go to the bottom of his trunk if you don't mind, BK. Sorry, naturally he moved it just in time. And it's moving all the time, sniffing. And also, he's feeling very slightly awkward. As I always like to say, like you at a social gathering when you don't know anybody. You get a drink and you kind of fiddle with your drink, your glass, or if you're wearing a ring or something like that. And now he's trying to decide whether he's going to follow through on his threat, which is to make us go away, or if he's just going to sit there. And given his age, I think he's just going to maybe take a few more steps forward and then watch what we do. Picking up some sand now. That's lovely. Classic male mammal bravado on display here. some traits that male mammals almost universally have. One of those is fighting over lady mammals, and the other is this kind of sub-adult bravado when he's just trying to test himself, trying to see how intimidating, big and strong he really is. So don't be fooled by this now. He's going off to the side because he's decided a frontal approach is a little bit too intimidating. He's still investigating us. The rest of the herd has moved off in the opposite direction. I'm not going to move. I'm just interested to see what he does, if he goes away or if he tries to come around behind us to see what we do. He's very much having an interaction with us. Sorry about the antenna. I just don't want to start the engine to ruin the moment. He might go all the way around us. He might go 360 degrees. Or he might just disappear up the road there. No, he's decided we're not nearly scared of him enough, and so he's going to move off and pretend that he wasn't interested in us whatsoever. Let's carry on like this. Marco, that's a great question. It's a really interesting question, to which there is no obviously clear answer. I think they can. I think that elephants can read human moods. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's a question of body language. I doubt it. I think it's much more likely that it's a question of their ability to smell hormones and that sort of thing, because obviously every time your mood changes, you're giving off different kinds of pheromones and they'll pick them up. They definitely pick up. I just know that they react to different guides in different ways. So I've often mentioned the story of a brilliant guide I knew once who used to get revved by elephants all the time. She was sensitive. She didn't harass them at all, but they just didn't seem to like her very much. Now, I don't know why that was the case, but I've also seen in my own experience, when I'm relaxed, the elephants tend to be relaxed, and vice versa. But whether that's just me projecting onto them or them actually picking up my mood, I don't know. The classic elephant's bottom shot. I'm not going to follow him because he's obviously a little bit nervous of us, and he just turned around and kind of said, "Please leave me alone." And so we shall acquiesce to his wishes. And we'll see if we can find the rest of the herd while you go back to Maputa land and some kitty cats having a communal bath.
Alrighty, welcome back again. Very interesting little turn of events as we have an elephant right behind us as well now. So in a minute I might have to just move out of the way. I'm just going to see which way it's actually going. Yep. Let's just see where that elephant goes. So I'm just going to watch him. But these cheetah, if the elephant spots them, are probably also going to have to move out of the way pretty quickly. Not that cheetah have a problem moving quickly. Emily and Matthew, that's a very good question. Why do cheetahs look like they're crying? Those beautiful little black tear marks going down their faces are almost like your American footballers that use that black paint on their face to stop the reflection of the sun. Because these cheetah are active during the day and they hunt during the day and they need to be able to see what they are doing during the day, They've just got this little adaptation of those beautiful tear marks coming down from their eyes. And as I say, it just helps, an idea anyway is that it just helps to reduce the reflection of the sun into their eyes. But it also, I think it just gives their face so much character. It's really beautiful. I think that cheetah's looking back at where the elephant was. Luckily he's moved off past us, so we don't have to move out of the way for him. Well, while these cheetah rest in the same spot where they are now, this is such a nice view, so we're not going to go anywhere just yet, but we're going to send you over to Taylor quickly with a little party.
I am indeed, and it's filled with birds. No, I'm just joking, but it is filled with birds. We have got a flock of red-billed quailias, not a particularly big flock. And would you believe that these tiny little birds sitting in this tree here can get into flocks big enough to block out the sun? Now, I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but I have witnessed it firsthand up in South Luangwa National Park, where the flocks of quailias are enormous. Actually, also in Botswana, in Mashatu, the southern sections of Mashatu, where there'll be hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and sometimes even millions of them all flocking together and feeding in certain areas. And they make the most amazing murmurations in the sky, which is pretty incredible. If you're from Europe, you've probably seen the starlings do it. But some people may even describe the red-billed quailias as the most hated birds in Africa because they decimate crops. They love to eat seeds. So they can be a bit of a problem. We don't mind them, of course, because they're just out here living in the wild, you know, doing things. Wow, I'm not even going to say anything more if you go to Tswalu.
Guys, we got a brown hyena. We got a brown hyena coming in to drink. I can't believe this. This is insane. Broad daylight. A brown hyena. I know a lot of you have been asking about this. This is exceptional. I'm going to talk very soft. I don't want to scare it away. I am in heaven. This is unbelievable. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Oh my goodness. You're never going to see brown hyena like this. I promise you, this is off the charts. This is the coolest ever. I'm going to talk very softly. I'm so excited. I'm flippin' shivering here. Oh my goodness. Oh my word. Those of you who want a brown hyena, you're not going to get better than this. Unreal. This is absolutely incredible to see. I can't see if it's a male or female. It's very, very difficult to tell. It's having a good drink of water. Yes, this is insane to see this. Those big pointed ears, very, very different. Very different to spotted hyenas. Yeah, spotted hyenas, look at those beautiful round ears. These are big pointy ears. And you can often identify individuals by the fact that those ears get nicks and tears and scratches often from fighting with other hyenas. And then you can tell individuals like it. The other way that they do it, some researchers, they actually use trap cameras, and from the photographs from the trap cameras, they can see the stripes on the legs. And those stripes on the legs are very, very distinctive. But it takes a lot of practice. This is unbelievable. Oh my word. Look at that. Look at it. Ah, yes. I love wild dogs. I'm just going to talk softly. He's just trotted around the corner. I think he'll come see that little red thing on the far side of it? Yeah, so they don't get in normally like spotted hyenas do. But I have seen a brownie in water before, in the Kalahari Transfrontier Park. So I'm so excited about that sighting now. My goodness. So that little animal that Chandra's got in frame there now is a slender mongoose. I'm going to talk very softly just in case he comes back. That's a slender mongoose. Wow, I'm in heaven now. This is incredible. But we'll give it some time. But it just shows now we're just sitting on the edge of the water with some branches in a slight depression, some branches around us. This is amazing. Yes. We're just going to spend some time here and see what else comes down to drink. This is cool.
Well done, Dylan. A brown hyena is on my bucket list, but I think I've found something really unique for you all. I think we have a very rare bird that I've personally never seen before, and I think it's a snipe. I want to say the greater painted snipe. Yes, I think it's the male. The females look completely different. They have a dark chestnutty red head. It's definitely not the female, but I think this is the male greater painted snipe. How cool is that? You can see it keeps flicking its tail up. Looks like it's doing a little dance. The snipe dance. And if I'm correct, they are aquatic birds. So they're in this muddy wallow. We're checking the wallows just in case predators are visiting, and using that specialised beak to look for worms, crustaceans, insects, aquatic insects. I am pretty sure. I'm just going to bring up my own bird app to have a little look, but I think this is what we're looking at. Yes, how exciting. Gone from a rare mammal, the brown hyena, to a rare bird. And in these particular species, the female is actually larger than the male, which is quite common in birds, especially your bigger birds, your birds of prey, but not necessarily your smaller birds. Now, once we get a little bit further away, I'm going to play its call. I actually don't know what its call sounds like, but I can play it from my app. You just don't want to play it too close to the bird. Oh, it's hungry. You see that? Now, because the beak is very long and extended, it's using the beak to stir up the sediment from the bottom. If there's any sort of insects or crustaceans hiding in the sediment, they're going to be stirred up and have no choice but to enter the beak of death. Oh. Now, Tony, you're asking how big is this bird? Well, I'm going to get the guidance from my app because it's rather difficult to explain. My app says on average they're 25 centimetres in height and they weigh around 120 grams. So really not that big. But they've got really long legs. They're waders. They're wading through the water. They're specially found around water bodies. That's where they get the sort of bulk of their food. They're waders. They're wading through the water. They're specially found around water bodies. That's where they get the sort of bulk of their food. So they're very tall. But I don't think they're very large birds. And the most fascinating thing, incubation and parental care in this particular species is done by the male, not the female. Okay, I think this bird is far away enough now. Let me see if I can play its call. hear that? How lovely is that? I hope you all heard that. I put it up close to my mic. That's the call of the greater painted snipe. Margot, you're asking why have we never seen this bird? I actually don't know. This is my first time. I'm sharing it with you all. And it's not endangered. I don't know why we don't see it here. Let me quickly take a look at the distribution map. It's got quite a... Oh, I do apologise. By IUCN, which is the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, it is classified near threatened. So I'm using my app here and it's near threatened. So it's slightly endangered. There's a huge scale. I think that Davy needs to do a quick wipe of the lens. Ta-da! Isn't that beautiful? But yes, there's a scale. You can actually visit iucnredlist.org and type in any species, any organism, and it will tell you its level of endangerment. And they are classified as near threatened, which is at the lower end of the scale. It goes up to sort of vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, and then it makes its way to extinct. So it's a great website, a great tool. I can add this to my bird list, an ever-growing bird list. You can see him. I can't see. Okay, I'm going to go forward. Okay, Davy, tell me when. I'm rather blinded by this ball of gas in the sky. You got him? Okay, we'll give you some more views since we've never, ever seen this bird before. Pangolin pump, you're asking about their nesting. And again, I'm going to consult my bird app for that. I'm not going to pretend I've really never seen this bird before. So let's see what it says about them nesting. So they create a slight depression in the vegetation. And they do it themselves. They bend vegetation, trodden down to form a nest. They can scrape on mud flats, but normally they use the vegetation. And it's usually hidden in short sedges or grasses. Fantastic. I'm learning all along with you guys. It's so beautiful, and I just love this bum flick. It's been a bit of a birding day for me. I needed one of these. Oh, I am over the moon with this sighting. Greater painted snipe. Sometimes nice just to watch the bird. What an incredible sight. I think Davy and I are both really excited by this painted snipe. So we are going to continue to explore Simbambili. And as we do that, you guys are going to go back across to the cheetah.
Wow, it sounds like you guys are having an amazing afternoon. New birds, brown hyenas, there's cheetah. There's so much going on at the moment. But I'm very jealous of Lauren with that bird. It's one of my favorites. So these cheetah are still just kind of lying around here. The one cub that was lying close to the mother seems to have moved off and he's now feeding. And the other one lay down to rest. But otherwise it's kind of the same here. As you can see, the mother's really battling to keep her eyes open. It's becoming quite tough, I must say. She's got a full belly, the kids are eating, so she's battling to stay awake now. But look at that, even with her eyes closed, we were talking just now about her having to always be aware of other predators, and even with her eyes closed, she's still got her head up, just in case, if she hears a noise or a stick breaking, maybe that something stepped on a stick, she'll pop her eyes open and look in that direction in a flash, and she can then get off to safety if it is something she has to worry about. I was just looking at the mother's, if you look at the pads under her paw. Do you mind zooming in on that, Marcel? Those pads under her paw, for cheetahs, it is really, really special. So you'll see the one lobe at the back is very deep. Then there's quite a small one in the middle. Now this is the back pad I'm talking about. So there's one big lobe, then a small lobe, and then another big lobe at the back. And those big indentations between each one really helps her. And I mean, it could have really come in handy now when she caught this impala. When impalas are running away from a cheetah, they often dart off in different directions and change directions really, really quickly. And the cheetah needs to be able to do that as well. So it's quite a cool little adaptation that she's got underneath her feet to just give her as much grip as possible if she's trying to quickly turn a corner, or even to maybe accelerate just to catch that impala. Hi, Tony. So a cheetah won't hunt again now. It's quite special for a cat because the others, like leopard and lion, are very opportunistic and they'll take any opportunity, even if they're busy eating. But cheetahs don't. They, once they've caught something, they are very content with just staying there and eating it as much as possible before any other predators come, like hyenas, for instance. And it's going to take her and these cubs a good 2 days to digest this, even 3 days to digest it fully, and then they might start hunting again after that. So in another 2 or 3 days, probably 3 days, she'll start hunting again. But also with extra mouths to feed with these 2 cubs, maybe she has to hunt a little bit more. They're growing, so they need a lot of meat to help them grow. While we were sitting here just now, Marcel noticed that the mother actually has a slightly shorter tail. Normally they have quite a white tip to the tail, just a small little bit of white fluff. And this cheetah's tail seems to be slightly shorter, and it seems to be missing that little white tip on the tail. So I don't know if she was born like that, or maybe if even a hyena or lion or something got a quick nip at her just as she was running away. Who knows? So much happens at night here that we don't even know about, We're back at the lodge sleeping, guests are sleeping, everyone's sleeping, you sleeping at home, and who knows what goes on here at night. And it's really nice sometimes to follow animals at night. And also, when you leave in the morning, when you leave the lodge, and it's nice and early before some of the animals that are active during the day get up and you see the different tracks in the road, you can almost decipher a whole story of what happened there the night before. It's one of my favorite things to do. This is really special though. Look, she's looking straight in our direction. So from these spotted cats that we're sitting with here, we're going to send you across to some stripes.
So unfortunately that leopard moved away from us and we couldn't follow him into that dense area, but as we moved out, of course, we came past these beautiful open areas and there's quite a few zebra around. So just in this area here, I think we counted close to 20 zebra that just crossed the road. And there might be some more. I've seen quite a few individuals looking back into this area right next to us. But I'm just going to lower my head there so it's not in the way. But have a look. It is definitely my favorite animal. So a lot of people, whenever they ask me about my absolute favorite animal, it's a zebra. And I would like to show you why. Like, I mean, if you look at the different stripes, especially if you look at this one's face, have you noticed how the nostrils and the mouth, like it's this little black patch, and then from there on, it goes into these black stripes that eventually go right up between the ears. And of course, the whole zebra is covered with the stripes, but every single zebra has a different stripe pattern. But look at the hair, especially the one off to the right that has its head down. Have you noticed how the stripes run from the neck into the mane? And then if you look at that white hair, even from the top, you'll notice that little black ridge that runs all the way from between the ears to between the shoulder blades. Huh, the zebra's coming to investigate. I think this one, I'm not too sure if it's a male or female, this one off to the left. But Owen reckons by the size of that belly, might be a chance it could be a female and she could be pregnant. Now, Owen, look at the back there. If you focus on those ones at the back, there's actually one that has a bit of an itch. And you can see the way she's actually moving her head across. Now, that one definitely looks pregnant. Just look at the size of her belly. And I don't think it's going to be too long before we see a little zebra right next to her side. But you can see she has a bit of an itch just behind her left ear. And look at how she's using that branch just to scratch it. Tony, like, to be completely honest, like, the only way that I can possibly tell if a zebra is pregnant or not is, like, if you look at that one there, look at how broad she is. Like, especially around the belly, you'll notice that it's quite, especially the one side, often with zebra, if they're pregnant, the one side would stand out a little bit more than the other. Like, and that is almost towards the final stages of her pregnancy. So for zebra, like people, they have 9 months gestation period. However, like, if it's earlier stages than that, it's really hard to tell the difference. I mean, I'm sure some of the more the professionals that I think deal a lot with horses will be able to tell probably with some other signs. But I think for me, personally, unless they're that big, it's really, really hard to tell the difference. Let's have a look at these two. Now, basically, just to give everyone an idea, we are sitting with these zebra and they're, 15 meters away from us? And you can see they're very, very relaxed at the moment, just flicking their tail, trying to get rid of the flies. And of course, might even just be enjoying this nice, beautiful open area. So I'm just going to lower my head out of the way because, like as we said, they're just so close. I'm just afraid my head might be in the way. But you can look at the eyelashes of the zebra. How beautiful is that? I think every lady's dream. But such a magnificent animal. Now, one of my other favorite things about a zebra is, of course, what they're called. So a group of zebras together is referred to as a dazzle of zebra. And you can imagine where the name comes from. Let's say there's a few of them together. So you can just imagine, like, I'd love to continue that story, but I think while we do that, we're going to have a look and stay here a little bit longer with the zebra, but let's send you across to James with some elephants.
We've got a very interesting arrangement of elephants here. They've just had a lovely drink in the golden light and now they've started feeding again. And what's interesting and kind of endearing in a sorrowful way is that it's a cow and her calf on their own. Looks like a mum and her son. Not not sure why they should be on their own. Maybe there are others closer by. I can hear a little bit of ruffling around in the bushes, but I'm not sure. What's wrong? Have you seen one? Ah, there are a few more coming this way. BK has spotted them where my eyes failed, but we'll just wait for them to come down to the water. I'm sure they're going to have a drink. They'd be entirely safe on their own, just the two of them, but they are a very social species, so it's a little bit like human beings, where if you were to find mother and child on their own with no friends, you'd feel sorry for them, not because necessarily they couldn't survive, but because, well, we're a social species, and we need each other in order to sort of survive to our optimum, and so it is with the elephants. Very social species, very tactile, involved socially. She looks like she's been drinking a bit too much coffee because her teeth are a bit brown. There, she's talking to the others that are coming. There we go. Look, up on the dam wall there, BK. Here comes another one. I don't know if you heard her talking there, but she went, oh, or something to that effect. So she's not actually completely on her own here. That's another youngster, might be hers. Might be a sibling to the little boy that she's got here. Let's see if he has a little drink. It's almost as if she's saying, come on, hurry up now. Let's just see what he does. It's difficult to know where to look because the other one has now moved a bit closer to us. He's kind of pretending to feed off on that side there. Look at him. He's very cute. Faith, yeah, that's probably quite likely. It's highly likely that they can smell their kin. It's probably quite likely that they can recognize their kin from sight as well, not necessarily by smell only. Remember, most mammals, in fact, probably even more than just mammals, are able to do that through the major histocompatibility complex, which is a complex of proteins that occurs and is unique to each individual. And when you smell a family member, say you hug your son or your daughter or your brother or sister or your mum or your dad, there's something very familiar smelling about them. In animals with much more sensitive olfactory senses, that effect is much more heightened. And so in experiments that they've done with rodents, certainly they're completely able to tell kin from each other using smell, and that is down to this complex of proteins called the major histocompatibility complex. And so, yeah, there's no question that they can tell kin. Whether it stops them mating with kin or not, I don't know. I imagine it probably does. It certainly seems to with rodent species. Maybe just the three of them. Oh, no, there's another one. So there are quite a few, just to sort of spread out herd a bit. Here we go, another one coming along. See if he comes up onto the dam wall. So nice to get them at kind of eye level with the camera. He's decided it's too much effort to go up to the top. He might just wade through the water that side. Let's just go a little bit forward, because I think we'll get quite a nice view of him maybe having a drink down the bottom of the other side there. Yeah. Don't mind us. Just relax. All okay. See how the head came up as soon as we arrived? Now it's gone down again. There's another young bull. See if he has a drink. In what must be water that tastes fairly rancid, I'd suspect. And elephants can be pretty fussy about what they drink. There he is, cleaning some muck off the top. Such a lovely sound. Not hugely thirsty, I don't think. I wonder if this water here isn't perhaps a little bit cleaner than in the dam because it's been filtered through the sand, maybe. By the vegetation here, the lilies. He's still watching us quite carefully to make sure that we are not a threat. It's interesting, you know, I was recently in a reserve in the Eastern Cape where it's a closed reserve called Kariga, and the herd there, it's, you know, there are two herds that come together and they sometimes split apart, but they, you know, they know the area very well. They're not in a great big open system like the Limpopo Transfrontier Park that we're in. And it means that they have become almost immune to having human beings around them. They hardly react to humans at all. It's very interesting to see. To the point that some of them you can approach on foot and they just don't pay any attention. Whereas here you wouldn't do that. You always, every single elephant we see here, you approach with caution until you know exactly how they're going to react. He's definitely watching us quite carefully. Anushka, that's one of those questions that's a little bit like a kind of how long's a piece of string thing, because there are so many different factors involved. I don't know how far elephants can smell water, and I'm not sure that anyone could answer that question. And I'll tell you why. Firstly, how far you can smell something really does depend on which way the wind's blowing, what the humidity of the air is, what the altitude is, so the pressure. Just depends on all of that stuff. It also, with elephants, is difficult to tell if they're smelling the water or if they remember where it is. And the herds with long-lived matriarchs learn where to find water, and so they'll go from water point to water point. And how much of that is smell and how much of it is memory is quite difficult to tell. In fact, it's impossible to tell. See how he cleans away the muck on the surface, but is careful not to disturb the mud on the bottom, and then he gets a nice clean trunk full. That's so cool. He's quite fussy about his cocktail, or his tea, 4:30 tea. Make me quite thirsty listening to that water. It looks quite clean too. Now, Reva, there are two parts of that question, and one part I really don't know about. Do I think that elephants have a stronger sense of smell like pregnant humans do? Reva, having never been pregnant myself, I cannot comment on the veracity of that, but I have heard it. And so I'm going to say that you'll probably find it's quite similar for all mammals, to a greater or lesser extent. But the second part of your question, do I think it's to create a greater sense of protection? I don't know. I mean, quite possibly. I'm not sure how that would help with protection, unless it would just kind of give her a better idea of where potential predators were, or help her to find the rest of the herd more easily. I don't know. That's a really good question. But you'll probably find that what applies to something general like that applies to human beings, you may well find that it applies to many other mammals, not just primates. Well, we had a pretty good rainy season this year. Everything is still nice and wet, but so did the Kalahari.
So as we've been sitting down here, we've just literally had 8 buffalo bulls come down to the water. They've just arrived, and the eighth one is actually just arriving. This is fantastic. So we are stuck, so we're sitting on the ground. We're about 30 yards away from these animals, and they are completely oblivious to our presence. This is just incredible on so many different levels. Look how they wade right deep into the water there. Oh my goodness, this is awesome. Awesome. And you see the older ones with those big, thicker bosses, and the younger ones have got the narrower bosses that aren't as rough on top. And they also tend to be a lighter brown colour, the younger ones. So this is a bachelor herd. These are all males as far as I can see. Yeah, this is fantastic. And again, it just shows you don't have to be fearful of these kind of things. Well, it's not over yet. This is just incredible. This is what it's about, people. This is what it's about. And I guess walking that deep into the water also helps them cool off a bit. Those big bodies obviously generate quite a bit of heat. Wow. And again, you don't even need words for this. It's just... and completely oblivious of our presence. I always prefer doing this if you've got a slightly more of a breeze. There's almost no wind as we're sitting here. The problem is if you've got a good breeze, then you can actually select your sites so they don't smell you at all. And the challenge is where we're sitting now is you can get, because there's such a gentle breeze and it kind of swirls every now and again, it could actually just carry our scent right to them, and they might move out the water then. And there's more coming in. 9, 10, 11. There's another 3 bulls moving in. Oh, 12. Another one. Oh, my goodness. Can I just stay here all day and all night? Wow, wow, wow. Oh, this is incredible. And like I say, this nearest one, this one closest to us here, is 20 yards from us. Maybe 22 yards from us. To give you some idea of the distance. And like I say, we are sitting on the ground. We've got a small screen of branches in front of us in a very, very, very shallow hole. This is just incredible to watch. So I am talking softly so as not to disturb it. I see Genre is shivering a bit. It's okay, Genre. I'll keep you safe. So we're going to spend some more time with these buffalo. And, we're just going to sit here quietly and enjoy this.
We did have some birds, but they have now flown away. Please, every single one of them. Oh, whew. Okay, we've got hornbill and southern white-crowned shrikes. Okay, we've got hornbill. I give up on the birds today. Every time we try and put them on camera for you, it's an absolute nightmare. They normally just fly away. But, of course, the trusty old hornbill is always here to stay and desperately searching for some food at the moment. I'm always fascinated. Oh, Gert, what have you seen? This fascinates me the most when Gert has found other birds. I thought a very noisy bird, of a squirrel, a green wood hoopoe. Oh, there's a big beep across the screen. Green wood hoopoes are gregarious, so you might hear a few of them chatting away. I love that they have these long bills that they use to probe in between the crevices, and I think they're quite thankful that the elephants have come through and broken down a whole bunch of trees, because now they can, you got a little treat. Any little boring beetles and the larvae that is inside there, or perhaps a little caterpillar that hasn't quite spun its cocoon just yet, trying to find some refuge, but it won't stand a chance. These are very, very good insect eaters, and they always spend lots of time up on those trees. You can see the beautiful iridescence in their feathers as well. Whoop, off it goes, just onto the next tree. Nice if they would all sit on a branch for us and gather together and sing their lovely song. They're very vocal birds. They're always chatting and talking to one another. I suppose that helps when you are foraging and looking for things to eat, to try and, be able to find one another. There the rest of them go. All just flying off into the wooded area. There, they're on to the next tree. It might be difficult to see. But it's been destroyed. Loads and loads of little creatures living inside there. You don't always see them spending too much time on the ground. They're typically up in trees, and they're able to cling on to the side of them and move around quite nicely. Oh, there we go. Inkov, I would say boring beetle larvae is probably what these green wood hoopoes are looking for. Any insects really that will be living underneath or in between the crevices of the bark. So maybe even small scorpions if they find one. They don't have a particularly wide gape, so I think that's going to limit the size of the insect that they sort of feed on. Remember, they don't have talons, they can't, or a sharp hook beak, they can't tear their prey to bits. They almost need to swallow it whole. So fairly small insects. But you never know what might be sort of living out there. But like I said, there's so many scorpions that live underneath the bark. They could definitely form part of their diet. Flying right here towards us. Thank you so much. You are so kind. Can you hear them now? That looks like a juvenile. Can you see how its bill is not red just yet, or that orange color? So this is not an and scimitar. This is just a young green wood hoopoe. But they do look fairly similar, but the scimitar I've got a long, slender black beak. Oh, there they are. Oh, look, all of them all gathering together now. There they're just on the trunk of that marula tree. Look at them. 4 of them and more coming in. So you can see the adults in the middle just teaching the youngsters how to feed. So obviously old enough to leave the nest and they have fledged, but still learning the ropes on where to look for food. What have you got there? That bird is taking something out there. Maybe squirrels have been living in that hole and have lined their nest with leaves. And this wood hoopoe has decided, right, well, I'm going to look for food, and if that means I have to wreck your sleeping hole, that's too bad for you. The squirrels are not going to be very impressed. And I'm sure that there might be insects living in there too. I don't think that it is living in there, because it looks like it's actually destroying it. It's taking all the leaves out. That's just mean. Well, I think that these birds at least have a sense of humor. I'm so happy that we finally got to chat to you, and we managed to put these stunning creatures on screen for you. But let's go across to Nikki, who's got an animal that some of you might not think is as beautiful.
So I remember earlier everyone would have seen a brown hyena. So now we have one of the other hyenas, the spotted hyena. So we're just having a look. This hyena earlier on was running on the road, and we think there might have been something that caught his attention or her attention. He or she was running quite quickly. You can see this one just slowed down just to possibly listen out to hear if there's maybe other alarm calls. Now, we didn't hear anything, but our hyena's ears are a lot sharper than ours, so there might have been something around. So we just want to spend a bit of time and see where this hyena moves off. Just notice how it's trying to listen out. And so just if you look at the direction that hyena is facing, the wind is actually coming from there towards the hyena. So you'll see now and again it picks up its head just to sniff the air. We can also hear some elephants now. We're right next to the river at the moment. And there's some elephants breaking branches in the distance. And I don't think it was because of that the hyenas moved here. I think there might be something else in the area. So it'd be worth it for us just to stick a little bit longer with this hyena and see where it heads off to. Just imagine now, like early on we saw a leopard. Now there could be potentially another leopard or 2 in this area. And just imagine if a leopard made a kill and dragged him into a tree, or even in a bush. It could be a potential meal for the hyena, any scraps that fall down to the ground. Or possibly even if a pack of wild dogs have moved through, you'll find hyenas would cover quite great distances to try and keep up with the pack, because they know there's going to be some scraps left afterwards. Sassy Cashy, I would like to show you the difference between the two. So while we are having a look at the spotted, I just want to quickly find the image, and then I'll ask Owen just to zoom closer to us. So I just want to quickly open up the book, because it'd be nice just to compare the two when we look at them. Now, Owen, I'm going to ask if you can quickly zoom out here, and then we'll have a look at that hyena right in front of us. So if you notice the brown hyena, you'll notice that the hair on the brown hyena is a lot longer. So instead of having the spots, it's just a very long coat, and then you'll see there's a bit of spots right over here on the legs, right over here as well. But also notice the size of the ears. The ears are a lot sharper in comparison to that of the spotted hyena. Now, I mean, look at this. See a little bit of white here, a lot of black, long hair, and also the face. It has a bit of a sharper face, and then the hair around the head is also quite short. Now, if you look, let's now have a look at the spotted hyena, which is right over there. Look at I'm going to just lower my head out of the way, but look at the round ears instead of those sharp ears. And if you look at the coat, it's more of a brownish light brown color coat in comparison to that dark long coat, and then of course a lot more spots. But I think we're going to spend some more time with this hyena, see if there's any other interesting thing that it might eventually head off to. But I think while we do that, we're going to send you back to James, apparently with some quite entertaining buffalo.
We are having the most unbelievable time here with the herd of buffalo. There's a female in estrus, definitely, and every male around her of sufficient size is trying desperately to further his genetic legacy, and it's spilling over to them having fights, and then males mounting males, females mounting females. There's absolute mayhem. The poor cow who's in estrus, I think, is the one we can see just on the edge of the road there. Let's watch the bulls. When the bulls start to move quickly, that's where things get interesting. They've been charging around here, kicking up dust. Let's see if we can pick it up again. I think they're going off to have a drink eventually, but there was a great deal of love being shown by all to all. And that's because there's obviously a very powerful scent of estrus in the air from one of the cows here who's in estrus. She was being harassed. But I think the action has now died. It's fascinating. They did it for about 15 minutes, about 10 minutes. They were knocking about here. We couldn't figure out what was going on. And then it became clear that the consternation was being caused by the competition for mating, which is so often the case in the mammal world. There's still two having a go at each other there, but I think those are two old boys who are reminiscing about times when they were big enough to compete for mating opportunities. Yes, Michael, I would imagine that a calf could definitely get hurt in this process. They're not as careful of their youngsters as, say, elephants are. So I would imagine a calf stuck in the middle of this mating process could easily get itself hurt. I saw one calf in the middle, did escape unscathed, but the rest had probably headed off towards Treehouse Waterhole, which is where they're going now. Well, that was fascinating. Absolutely amazing to see. Normally a buffalo sighting is fairly stationary, or moving slowly or belching loudly in this part of the world. We'll go down to the water and see if we don't pick them up again that side. That'd be quite fun. Cool. Let's go to the water and let's go and find out what desert buffalo like to do at this time of the day.
So these buffalo bulls have just all finished drinking, and the one was actually rolling in the mud. He actually went, and we were actually having a good chuckle, because he actually went completely over. So he lay down, went on one side, and he was feet in the air, and he flopped over onto the other side. It was very, very cute. As cute as a buffalo can be. But how incredible is this? And like I say, there's no threat here. They're completely relaxed with our presence. Or this little one's kind of giving us the hairy eyeball there. It's like, he's sure he saw something in the bushes there, but no one else believes him, so now he's going to leave. But what a setting, eh? There's two Cape turtle dove in front of the buffalo there on the edge of the water. Chandra's ticked that one. Oh, this is... And he's turning back again, looking at us. Claudia from KZN has asked about, are buffalo well suited to the Kalahari? This is actually, there's a wonderful book by a guy called Skeed, and who did the historical distribution of large game in southern Africa in different regions. And buffalo were recorded, well recorded, just 100 kilometers from this area, not even. In fact, they occurred all along the Kuruman River in the not too distant past. So absolutely, that being said, where Tswalu is situated along the foothills of the Koronaberg, and then a little bit further west out into the dune fields, would absolutely be the margin, the edge of their accepted distribution range. But this particular area that we fall in is well recorded as buffalo area. And obviously that would have been, probably seasonal as well. Moving in, following the rains, moving out as it gets drier. But a lot of the game in many reserves throughout the world would have had those kind of movements historically. Oh, look at these doves, Chandra. Look how pretty they are. Oh, they just flew away.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
So we followed that hyena down into the riverbed, and then we got another little surprise of close to 20 elephants. But if you look right over here, there's 2 little baby elephants. This one doesn't even have tusks. So if they don't have tusks, they're less than a year old. Look at how that one's just using that trunk already to strip those leaves off. And then the one off to the just slightly right of where that one is, you'll notice these little tusks, so probably just over a year old, because that's when the tusks start showing. But it's amazing how they can use those trunks as almost as we can use our hand, like how they wrap their trunk around a branch and then basically pull the leaves off, like we would grab it and then pull it off, and then from there on like maneuver it into their mouth. Look at those little ones. For the whole time you can actually see his tongue as he's putting some of the leaves into his mouth. You'll notice now, like the rest of the herd is all moving in front of us. So I'm going to try and be quiet and hear if you'll be able to hear some of the sounds. Now, there's not too much happening, but you might hear a few birds and also the movement of some of these elephants as they move through the sand, or maybe through some of these trees as they are feeding at the moment. So there are some elephants that won't have any tusks. So I've noticed, especially with females, it's you do now and again see the odd occasion where they just don't have that. And it's very interesting because with African elephants, unlike Indian elephants where the males are the only ones that have tusks, the African elephants, both the males and the females have tusks. However, sometimes they are born without those tusks and then they just never develop. And it's quite strange seeing it because you'll often notice how they can actually use the tusks as tools in order to dig up roots to strip the bark. But even though an elephant might not have that, they're still capable of using their trunk and pushing over trees to get to the roots. Very, very capable of surviving. And you do find a few females, especially in this area here. Like I think during my time guiding here, I probably would have seen close to 20. Could be a few of them from the same individual, or possibly 20 different individuals that didn't have any tusks. I'm just going to give this little one a bit of space. He is getting a bit too close, and I think he might just want to go down. Possibly there's a little island right next to us, and he might just want to go to that island to see if there's a bit of food for him. So let's just stop right over here. You'll notice that in his left ear, it looks like there's a little hole. And that might even be from either rubbing up against a branch, and then possibly it just gave him a little cut. Franzi, with most of the herbivore animals, they do aim for that. They do aim to have their young, especially like here towards November, December, January, February, towards the rainy part. However, I mean, with herbivores, some of the bigger herbivores, there's no set time of the year that they'll have their youngsters. It could potentially be any time of the year. So, I mean, for elephants, it's a good example because their gestation period is 22 months. You can imagine nearly 2 years where they'll carry their young before they eventually give birth. And so that could be any time of the year. It could be winter, it could be summer. There's no specific, but normally some of the more common antelope that do give birth nearly on a yearly basis, they'll try and give birth like closer to the rainy season or when there's a lot more food available. So, and just left of that elephant, there's another little one that's trying to pull, I think it's a palm tree. Let's just see, you can see it just maneuvered right next to Mum, so that one right in the middle of the screen. So earlier on it tried to pull a palm leaf, but it couldn't break it off, and then eventually gave up and moved on. So let's just see if it tries that again. So, how beautiful are these elephants within this riverbed? But you know what would be even like just as beautiful is watching a beautiful African sunset.
Well, the sun has just popped behind those trees there, and we are sitting here listening, and what we're listening for is the approach of the buffalo, which doesn't seem to be happening with a great speed. So let me shut up for a second and you can listen to what it sounds like at sunset. It's always quieter in the winter. The only thing I can actually really hear loudly is a cricket. And then the very slow approach of the buffalo. I can hear their hooves clicking against each other. Cloud, you say this is very stunning. It is very stunning. And it's because it's over water, and we human beings are, quite unsurprisingly, I suppose, attracted to water, and whenever we stop for a drink or to think or have a listen or whatever it is, it's so often next to water. Now the buffalo are approaching, but they're still a little way off. You can just hear them moving through the bush. odd one going, oh. Bleh. I think they'll emerge out of the bushes in the next 2 minutes or so. Just stand up and look. I think it's worth just sitting here and waiting for them to come. In the meantime, everything in the desert must drink probably more frequently than it does here, so let's go back there.
Very quiet. This little black-backed jackal just came down and had a drink of water. But they are super shy, super alert animals. Incredibly adaptable little predators. They will scavenge. They will catch their own prey. Super successful small predators of the African savannas. And they don't miss a beat. They'll tag along behind cheetah. They'll follow leopards. You know, obviously, many of you may have seen lion kills with jackals darting in and out. But they'll even hide on the edge of water bodies like this. They'll lie in vegetation or amongst stones and rocks, and they'll actually dart out and try to catch things like doves coming in to drink, doves and sandgrass. So they are. This is an incredible setting. We've got the jackal there on the right. We've got a number of giraffe coming in on the left-hand side to drink with the most amazing silhouettes. This is all just incredible. This is incredible. Look at that. Look at that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And look at, we're just sitting quietly in the same spot. We haven't moved. And we've seen buffalo, giraffe, brown hyena, jackals, all the different birds. This is just absolutely fantastic. In between, we've also had kudu coming down and drinking. We've had oryx, which we know is gemsbok. So there's been multitudes of different kinds of animals coming down to drink. Multitudes is maybe the wrong word for like 5 species, but you know what I mean. Just look at that giraffe bull. Wow. Because you can't not love this. And there again, someone asked a question earlier about bending legs when giraffe drink. And that bull is almost bending his knees. And that cow, there she started bending her legs as well to drink. Now she's just drinking normally. I'm just loving this. And again, you're sitting in one spot. Animals are not threatened by you. You're not threatened by them, and that's really how you observe them just doing their natural thing. We're about another half an hour from sunset around here, approximately. So the temperature's dropping down very quickly now. It's so cool. I love this. I absolutely love this. But over the coming weeks, Chandra and I, we're going to modify this little location that we've got here. And we'll spend a little bit more time in here because it's just really fun to sit in one spot and let animals come to you rather than moving away.
Well, I mean, when the animals come to you, then that's a wonderful solution to going on a game drive. But when the buffalo herd that you're waiting for is moving more slowly than a glacier, it can become a little frustrating. The 2 minutes that I suggested it was going to take for them to emerge from the bushes has turned into, 5 or 10, and they still haven't come out. But I can hear them. Oh, I can hear quite a lot of movement now. I promise I can. BK is showing you the sky while I get more and more embarrassed by the indolence being shown by this herd of buffalo. I think they're starting to move a bit faster now. I think they were sort of grazing through the thickets there, and now perhaps the scent of water in their noses has inspired some slightly faster movement. Oh, I can see one, BK. It's a sort of blackish shape. No, it's a bush. No, it's a buffalo. Here they come. Look at that, BK. We have success. They'll arrive here just as it goes pitch black and we won't be able to see them. Did you see it? No, don't stop. It's now stopped because it's seen us. Keep coming. A lot of people waiting to see you. Come on. It's quite fun when they come down to the water. So at around about 12 o'clock tonight, we'll be having a great time here. There, now you can see them. I think the herd's about 100 strong, which is not a very big herd for this part of the world. The biggest herd I ever saw was at Ngala, at what we called Big Dam, very originally, because it was the biggest dam there. And it was about 1,000. I think this is about 100. But as winter closes in, the water concentrates, so the herds will get bigger. Here we go. There we are. It's well worth the wait, isn't it? Especially this time of the year. We're into the lovely bronzes, golds and coppers of the winter. I'll be quiet now so you can hear them moving. I think we're going to go across to Pridelands quickly because Taylor's found something that sounds rather exciting.
Hopefully it won't be too quickly because look at what we've got sitting up in a tree. Now, I must say a big thank you to Norman, who's one of the instructors at Eco Training. He was out on a bit of a bumble this afternoon with some of the students, and he heard alarm calls, and then he responded to those alarm calls and found a leopard in a tree with a kill. And then this tiny little fluff ball that you can see to the left appeared, which is fantastic. So it looks like it's a maybe a daker, a common daker that they've killed. It's very difficult to tell, but I can see its head, but we won't worry about that right now. But this is awesome, because I have a feeling that this is the leopardess and the little cub tracks that we've been seeing going up and down, that we've been trying so hard to try and find you. And she's just been avoiding us completely. Now, we have given her a fair amount of space, just because we don't know her very well. We don't know if she's shy. Also, that cub is quite young. So we thought that we'd give her the most room, just until she starts being really relaxed around the cars, of course. Dahlia, I've seen this little leopard for a whole of, not even joking, when you guys came to us, for about 30 seconds. So this is the first time I've seen this little thing. And we've seen the footprints on the floor. It's very small. You can also see its spots are still quite dark and still very close together. Those rosettes haven't quite formed. Only a few months old. Maybe 3 or 4 months old. Somewhere around there. It doesn't look particularly big. But like I said, it's difficult to tell because we are so far away. We must be about 70 meters away from this tree. We're just very, very zoomed in. You'll have a look and you'll see now to get an idea of how far away we are. Like I said, we've just kept our distance because we don't know these leopards, and the leopards are not as relaxed here as they are in the Sabi sand where James and Lauren are driving around. So I want to make sure that I don't put any pressure on her, and we just view from a distance, and she's very relaxed now. Giselle, typically leopards will have 1 to 2 cubs. If you're very lucky, you'll get to see 3 cubs together. And if this is the same leopardess, she did have 3 cubs at one point. I don't know, but she's in the same area where there was a female denning and that had 3 tiny little balls of fluff. So I think it could be her, but I've got no way to confirm this because we've got no photographic evidence, so we can't really compare. So we're just sort of suspecting because of the route this one female leopard typically walks and that we've seen cub tracks. These are the cub tracks that we've been having around Leopard Dam. We're not far from Leopard Dam at all. And remember how I've been saying to you that we think that she was stashing this cub, or we know she was stashing this cub in the basalt ridge that runs from east to west through Pridelands. So very, very exciting stuff that we finally got a view. We don't know, this cub has probably only seen vehicles a couple of times and definitely hasn't seen any cars for the period that I've been here at Pridelands. She hasn't been sighted. So excited for this. Like, I cannot tell you how thrilled I am. Hey, big girl, she's a beautiful leopard. Oh, now you can see she's just snarling a little bit. She might just be a little bit nervous, but like I said, we couldn't be any further away from her. We are so far. You saw how far we are. So that's why I don't think we're going to put too much pressure on her tonight. And that once the sun drops below the horizon, we will leave. We won't stay here. We definitely won't be spotlighting this little cub. But like I said, I still want to be able to come here tomorrow and enjoy it. And I want this leopard to learn and have a good relationship with cars. Donna, so the reason why I think this cub is about 3 or 4 months old is that's, typically the age when they get introduced. This little cub will still be suckling for most of for the next few months, but they can get introduced to feasting on delicious carcass from as early as 2.5, 3 months old. Oh no, that's maybe why she was snarling. Maybe not at us. Definitely not at us. Snarling at the hyena. That makes more sense. I thought she couldn't possibly be snarling at us all the way over here. We've been so cautious. But that makes so much more sense. Well spotted, Gert. I'm just staring at the monitor. Gert's, of course, overlooking the entire scene. So those impala must have alerted, and perhaps there was a slight distress call. Good hunting weather. I know we've all been complaining about the wind today, but very, very good hunting weather for the cats. And I think she was hoping she'd get lucky that the wind would muffle the sound of impala, not impala. She hasn't caught an impala. The daker maybe making a distress call, or any of the other animals alarming around her. but that has not worked. But from the sighting we had with the lions and the buffalo, we know that the hyenas do linger around here. Their tracks are often littered on the floor. So I suppose it was inevitable. But now it means that that little cub is going to have to stay up in the tree, because that would be a death sentence if it ends up on the floor with the hyenas around. So Mom is going to definitely be on her toes, which is why it's vitally important that we just keep our distance and watch from here. This is so exciting. I'm so happy. I cannot tell you how overwhelmed I am. I'm going to have to give Norman a big hug. No, I can't. I can't give him a big hug because it's got to be social distancing. I'm going to give him an elbow tap or something, or buy him a well-deserved beverage. Anyways, off you go to have a look at some buffalo who are coming down to quench their thirst.
I'm sorry I wasn't more excited about my last link to Taylor. When they said a little leopard, I assumed it was a trick like a tortoise or something like that. It's fantastic to have a brand new leopard cub that you've never seen before. In fact, it's possibly one of the most exciting things you could imagine out here in the wilderness. Here we have got this herd of buffalo. I think it's more than 100 strong, and they're down here having a good drink at Treehouse Waterhole. They've got right into the water, totally unconcerned about how cold their legs are going to get once they get out. A little bit of argy-bargy still going on, but otherwise everyone's concentrating on the evening tipple, which in this case is some mud-infused water. Possibly quite a lot of terrapin dung mixed in there for flavour. Like a soup, I think. Lovely sounds. There was one big bull in this herd that had the most enormous horns I think I've ever seen. But they were quite thin, so he looked very flamboyant. I can't see him right now. Still quite a lot of action going on there. I'm not sure how long Taylor's going to be able to spend with that cub as the light fades, so let's quickly go back to her.
Well, now you can definitely see that this leopardess has completely relaxed with us. As she is turned away from us, she's got both legs dangling on either side of the knob thorn and seems to be having a little rest. That makes me feel a lot better. So that's really good. I think it was definitely that hyena that was annoying her. And I'm sure more hyenas are going to show up. We'll probably hear their whoops early into the evening. So you can guess we will be coming back tomorrow morning. First thing, first light. We'll be standing by to see what's happening. But I'm happy that this little leopard is munching away and getting something to eat. I'm sure it must be quite tough for it, though, at this age to tear through that flesh. You can see it's struggling, but there are some bits and pieces that are open. So I'm wondering, I don't know, Mom must have had a little bit of a feed before she called the cub. Maybe she ate it on the floor, which is not uncommon. So perhaps she killed the daycare, ate a little bit on the ground, and then obviously in this area where the high density of hyenas, as you've all seen, decided, right, nighttime is about to fall, time to take it up to the top of the tree and call the little one in for safekeeping. This is awesome. I'm so happy, so thrilled. You can also see that apparently knob thorns and the thorns on the tree don't bother the big cats. Yes, Sky, we will eventually get to naming this beautiful cat, but right now she hasn't got a name. So, unfortunately, the leopards and lions and animals in this area haven't been heavily followed, and they don't have a big social media following like some of our other stars of the show, like Tandy, for example, or Hosanna, or the Birmingham Pride, you name it. So we're slowly getting into the process of giving the animals names and finding out if they had names before. Because, for example, we know with lions, they tend to move around, and the lions move onto various properties. So we're trying to find out their backstory, but they haven't been followed in depth, as I know all of you avid WildEarth viewers have been following these leopards and lions and hyenas and all the animals. So we're slowly getting there. So once I get a decent picture of her, hopefully tomorrow, we'll see if we can snap one and get some ID features. Just by looking at her, we know exactly she's got very light blue colored eyes, which is really unusual and nice. I didn't get a chance to have a look at her whisker pattern, but I'm pretty sure that all of you are going to be bombarding social media with screenshots of this lovely sighting that we're having, and then we can get that, and then we'll also start looking for unique patterns on her body. Perhaps her rosettes line up in an interesting way, and then as the days go on, hopefully we'll be able to sex the young cub too. So there's lots of exciting things over the next few days that we'll be able to do. So far we've seen one leopard that we've had live, which was a male leopard, and we've given him the name Shimungwe, which is the Shangaan word for battalier. That's because of the road that he was found on first by some people that reside in Jajani, which is just north of our traverse. So, we try and find out these different things, but a lot of the animals are not named in this area, so we'll be doing a lot of that. Obviously, the hyenas are called, we're just referring to them as the Pridelands clan. It makes sense. And now, the tricky part is, who are they and what is their structure? But we need to have lots of kills around so we can all see them interacting and see who sort of shows up. But I will be going on a little break soon, this weekend coming, and in my break, some of the things that I'll be doing is sitting down and putting together some ID cards of all the photos that I already have. I just haven't had a chance to really just sit. I'm actually just looking at this leopard now, and I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like she's got a variety of smiley faces on her rosettes, but then she also has one that looks like a mushroom. So I'm actually going to take a picture of it so that I can remember, and we will try and come up with cool ways to remember her. Jenna, it's really hard to say because I wasn't here. It was so Norman, one of the other instructors at eco training, he was bumbling about, and then he said he heard alarm calls, so he sort of followed up, and then he spotted the leopard. So this leopard has made the kill today. It's at some point, whether it was a few minutes ago or whether it was an hour ago, I don't really know. I didn't see the leopard take it up on the kill up onto the tree. Like I was saying earlier, it's quite possible, that maybe a herd of impala or something like that stumbled across her and saw her feasting on the ground and then started alarming, but maybe she'd already made the kill beforehand, or it happened so quickly, It is a daker, common daker, so it's not a particularly big antelope. It lives by itself. They're quite solitary and just, when they come to mate, then you can see them in pairs, or sometimes you can see a female with an offspring, but normally they're on their own and they're quite vulnerable. So making it a decent meal for this leopard and her youngster, and easier than going after something that lives in a herd. So it's really hard to say, but it looks fairly fresh. There's a couple of bits that have been opened already, and it looks like there's been some fur that's already been pulled out, you can see. And that's very typical of leopards. They have to pluck their prey before they start feasting on it. And I don't think that young cub is really capable of doing such damage to a carcass. Here, little one goes, just down off to the left. Come on, we want to see you. So like I said, this is just the first glimpse of this leopard. or the two of them. Hopefully it's going to get better tomorrow. Don't go down onto the floor, little cub. Stay in the tree. Oh, it's so young. Charmer, so this little cub is going to have a set of milk teeth, so it's inevitable, even if it were to pull out one of its teeth, I doubt it at this age, that its teeth will grow back. So very much like us as when we're kids or puppies or anything like that, except hyenas, we get the set of milk teeth, and then the adult teeth will sort of push on through. But it's still got a few more months before that starts to happen. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, if it does lose a tooth now, it's going to get them back. Come on, lift your tail up so we can see if you're a boy or a girl. Ooh, I want to say a little girl, but I don't know. That was just a quick guess. I didn't get a proper look, and it's getting quite dark now, and we're very far away. Oh, you're so pretty. Definitely taking after Mum with the light-coloured eyes. Oh, it's so small. It's tiny. Maybe it is only about 3 months old. It's not very big. Not at all. Like I said, look at the spots. Oh, what you doing? I'm so terrified that this little cub is going to fall off the tree, because at this age, it's still got a lot of learning to do. It hasn't quite perfected tree climbing. I think it's just got the essentials of going up and going down and staying on a branch. So please don't try to do any acrobatic moves tonight. I also wonder if it has realized that there is a potential threat down below. I don't know. It had its face full of dacre meat that I don't think it was really paying attention. I mean, I could sit here for the rest of the evening, but unfortunately, this is my first interaction with these leopards. So I think I'm going to leave them, and we will come back here first thing in the morning, so it will get you all very, very excited for the sunrise safari. Yeah, I'm just thinking, because the light is fading so quickly now. I think that's the right thing to do, and I think that's definitely what we're going to do. So we're going to move on out and start looking for other things. Off you go back across to Tswalu to see what they're up to.
This has just been the most incredible afternoon. These kind of moments often leave me speechless, just because it's just so incredible. But while we're here, let's show you what we've got. So, a pair of binoculars, always like, there's a mammal book for all those hard questions about estrus that I can't answer. There's a radio, just in case we get savaged by something, we can call help or hit the emergency button. And then, camera. And then our little screen, we've made it with some branches and some old calcrete stones. It's very, very simple. And then Genre's beanbag. He's got his beanbag there, and if he turns the camera on, you can actually see Genre. Yeah, it is him, I promise you. But we've just had the most amazing afternoon sitting. I mean, it's just been... Oh, and something else really cool. So Genre, there's no ways you can find it. The thing is way too far. But if he pans over to the mountains in the distance there, a little bit more to your right, those hills we actually spotted from here. We were just scanning the hills with the binoculars, maybe looking for mountain zebra or something, whatever's interesting. And lo and behold, there is a brown hyena walking. The distance from here to there is probably 1.5 kilometers. But there's a brown hyena walking way, way, way up in the mountains over there. So that's 2 brownies for Genre and myself this afternoon. And it's just so incredible. And this light is golden now. It's liquid gold. Wow. And peaceful, eh? I wish you all here, like on the ground with us. There's hardly a breath of wind. The reflection on the water is so beautiful. And here come some lapwings. You'll see they're going to fly across the frame now. Look at that, beautiful. Those are blacksmith lapwings. this is what Africa's about. It just gives you like a real appreciation for wild spaces. And you don't even need to travel far to get them. Your back garden, I know I keep saying it, but genuinely your back garden can be a very, very special place in terms of nature if you kind of just encourage it and you know where to look and what you're looking for. And taking the time to be interested in it, I think, is the number one rule, the starting point, having that passion for learning about what's in your backyard. And that'll translate into visits to national parks or provincial reserves or state land close to your home. I'm getting all philosophical there, but it's true, it's really, it's what it's about, We're just going to sit here a little bit longer and just keep enjoying it and admire this amazing sunset that we're having.
We have also had a beautiful sunset here. It's gone down now, a little bit too far to view, but I think Davi can show you the sky is still alive with all of those colours. Isn't it beautiful? I love this time of night. And of course, it is the time where the nocturnal animals, the predators, will start to be awake. Now, we've covered quite an area today. We actually popped out of the Mulwati, one of my favourite areas to drive in the reserve. Quiet, but still beautiful. Not an easy drive. I think the elephants have, dug their way through the Mulwati, which makes it a little bit tricky for the vehicles, but still, it was wonderful. And I'm on my last minute predator patrol. Now, I mentioned this morning, but we did have a new leopardess that some of you might have heard of and many won't have, called Insele. 11-year-old leopardess. She only has one eye, so she's very unique to look at. She's stunning. And she did cross through Djuma. So I'm thinking, just going to go back to that area. You never know. It would be such a pleasure to introduce you to her. She's not a dominant leopardess in this area. She's from the far west, but she seems to be a little bit nomadic at the minute. Sorry, Rebecca, I'll need you to repeat that. My earpiece fell out my ear there. Arag, you're asking... Sorry, I'm just deciding which way to go. Here we go. So it was a crossroads, a literal crossroads and a metaphorical one. You're asking, do any animals use other animals' tracks to its advantage? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. However, for example, elephants, they will dig with their feet and their trunk, and they'll end up leaving big holes. And when elephants, because they're such large animals, actually walk on very, very soft terrain like sand, they will leave holes naturally. And if they fill up with water, there's a recent study done that those sort of little mini pools, micro pools, that are made by the elephants end up filling up with water, and they're critical to many environments as a habitat for all sorts of organisms, to bacteria, to crustaceans, arthropods. They rely on those small little pools made by elephants just as they're walking. Of course, the elephants don't make them intentionally, but just by the sheer pressure on the sand, they end up putting an indent in. And when rain comes, or any source of water, they naturally fill up and make little ponds. And they're said to be really, really critical to many, many organisms out here. But as for using tracks, I don't think so. Most of the sort of predators we have out here are very olfactory, and what that means is they rely on their sense of smell. So they'll follow their nose rather than follow their eyes. So they won't look for tracks, they would rather smell for clues, pheromones, scent, any sort of mark that's been left behind. So I don't really think many animals would use tracks to find other animals. but definitely elephant tracks are used by lots of animals. Okay, so we're just going to head northwest in hope that we may find this leopardess again. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it's possible. Out here, anything is possible. And I know that many of you would love to see her. We don't really know why she's in this area. This is not her territory, but she seems to be wandering through, so you never know if we might pick her back up again. Wow, Davy, are we able to give a view of that skyline with this marula here? Sorry, it's breathtaking. Robin, I have absolutely no idea how long the sunset lasts. Not long enough, Robin. Especially when you're on drive, you see it slowly sinking, and before you know it, it's disappearing. Far too fast. We always try to capture the sunrise for you as well, and before you know it, it's up so quickly. I'm really not sure how long it lasts. It depends. When would you start to say the sun is setting? At what point in the sky would you start to call it the sunset? Because essentially, as soon as it starts to go down, the sun is setting. So I'm really not too sure, Robin, but I'm going to answer your question with far too fast. Before you know it, you're plunged into darkness and nighttime begins. And of course, humans, we're not equipped for nighttime. Not like our predators out here. Okay, I'm going to try really hard to find some last-minute movements. And as I do that, I think Nicky has also got his spotlight out.
So we just want to quickly have a look. I think there might be a nightjar right in... Oh, as I said that, it flew off. No! All right, let's slowly carry on. So what we're going to try and do this evening is we're basically going to try and see if there's a chance of finding a last-minute leopard. Now, this area, we've been savoring this area until the end. It's a nice, beautiful area right next to the river, but it's also quite close to camp. So either between a leopard, chameleon, possibly civet, which is probably asking for too much now, but hopefully the last-minute leopard. So what I'm trying to do is as I'm moving the spotlight, I'm just basically looking out for the reflection of eyes. For a chameleon, it might not necessarily be the reflection of eyes, but they are a little bit of a different color in comparison to the tree. It might be initially like a little gray, looks like a gray leaf on a green tree. But I haven't seen any over the last, I think, 2 weeks. But we never know. So that's what we're going to try and do. Carefully move the spotlight and hopefully get those animals we were talking about. Oof, and Owen also mentioned possibly bush baby. Now I've tried, but I haven't seen a bush baby in this area for quite a while. But maybe as soon as we get to an area where it's a little bit denser and there's some more bigger trees, because often the bush babies, they go and sleep in the crevices of the trees. So we'll look for some of the bigger trees with possibly some holes in it. I think we're going to carry on, as you said, looking out for the last minute. But while we do that, let's head across to Tswalu Kalahari. Apparently, they have 2 giraffe, and they might be quite small.
Yes, I'm just listening to what the other guards are getting in some of the other spots, like looking for chameleons and bush babies. And that's a marked difference between that environment and the Kalahari, where at this time of year, I mean, we're already hitting well below zero in the evenings. So all of our chameleons are, they've gone underground for a while. Very, very, very occasionally you'll find one out through winter, but it's very, very seldom. So I really hope they do get some there, and some bush babies. That'll be a very good one to see. But look at this cow, this giraffe cow. She's coming in for a last drink for the day. And there's two youngsters behind her. Now those won't both be her calves. It'll be, one's actually slightly older than the other one, but that'll be from another cow, one of those calves, and the cow will probably be somewhere around the area. It might have been with the group of giraffe that we saw earlier. So these giraffe are aware of us, but they're not alarmed, they're not spooking because of us. I think she is actually going to drink. I'm just loving these colours at this time of day and how rapidly they're changing. And how rapidly the temperature's dropping. That little blacksmith lapwing in front of them on the edge of the water. Yeah, she's going to drink now. She's going to drink now. So will she keep her legs straight, or will she bend them? No. Bend it like Beckham. Kendall asks, do you get giraffe babysitters like you get with meerkats? What you get, Kendall, is you get these what they call maternity groups. And so that can be a couple of adults, but with a whole lot of youngsters, and not necessarily, well, obviously not from the same female. But they don't necessarily have adults in attendance, or lots of adults in attendance. You can get one, you can get 2, 3 adults. These giraffe form very, very loose associations. But they definitely recognize other giraffe. You'll get your dominant, so that's in a nutshell. No, they don't form, they don't have a babysitter, like one babysitter like the meerkats do, before I get too sidetracked there. But in terms of the social structures there, you'll have one big dominant bull, and fighting, serious fighting, is actually not that commonly engaged in giraffe, and it'll normally be from males that are moving in from outside that'll challenge the dominant male. It won't normally be the subordinate males within the area, because those fights, I mean, they don't necessarily last very long, but they can be very serious. So when you see giraffe sparring, and you'll see a lot of that very relaxed sparring happening in many areas, and that's normally just animals testing their strength out. So, but yeah, we're just going to carry on sitting here and absorbing this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous moment.
We've got a rather gorgeous moment ourselves over here. We have got a moon. Oh, gosh, what do they call this? I've forgotten. This is a gibbous moon. I don't remember. Anyway, it is the last of the waning moon. Is it? No. It has now started to... It's started to wax. No, it has it? I don't remember. I think it started to wax. And I think it's called a gibbous moon, but I could be entirely incorrect. It's just a very pretty picture there with the clouds and the tree. And the sound of the drongos in the background and a cricket. of wings. That was a bat that came past. We will never try and film a bat view because that will make you very, very sick indeed. They're impossible to film. Oh, moose, my favourite night sound. I think it's probably a hippo, hippo grunting. That's probably my favourite night sound. But, I know it's a cliche. Lions roaring is very special. Hyenas whooping is equally special. And a leopard sawing, that's also great. I suppose it depends where you are. Something like a cricket, if I'm in the city and a cricket starts calling in the garden, that's beautiful because it's a touch of wilderness that you have. If I'm at the coast, I love hearing the fruit bats tinking away metallically. It's a very comforting sound. But if I'm in this part of the world, then I guess it would have to be a hippo or a roar of a lion. Maybe also the call of the Scops owl. Brrp. Brrp. And then in summertime, I guess also the sounds of the frogs. So that's a very unhelpful answer that I've given you. I'm sorry about that. But there are just too many nice sounds. And up in the Kalahari, I don't know if Dylan's managed to show you these, I'm sure he has, or you've certainly probably heard them. The barking geckos are spectacular as night falls. Beautiful. Oh, there's a little bunny that's come out onto the road in front of us. Shall we have a look at him, PK? The scrub hare. We're going into the infrared now. In 5, 4, 3, 2, click. Wonderful. Righty, we'll move on from here. See what else there is as night falls. Much less sound in the winter, but it's no less pleasant, I must say. Tylo, it'll be properly dark, I guess, in about half an hour. I always say in this part of the world that it gets dark very quickly. When the sun goes down, it's like a light being switched off. We don't have much of a dusk. So you've normally got about half an hour after the sun goes down before it's almost completely dark. There's probably another 20 minutes or so. Yeah, 10, 20 minutes until it's pitch black. The more extreme your latitude, the more of a twilight you'll have. It always astounds me the few times I've been to Europe in summer, how, the sun goes down and it just stays light for so long. It's lovely. If there was one climatic thing I would change about here, would be the lack of a proper twilight, but it's a very small sacrifice to pay for the generally very nice weather we have. Not bad driving around here midwinter in a pair of shorts Yes, I do have a blankie over my legs, but that's all right. Oof. Yeah, Viet, it's very difficult to say how many or what different kinds of species of bats we have here, because in order to identify them properly, you've got to catch them, actually count the ridges on their pallets. But we get free-tailed bats, we get Vesper bats, I've seen fruit bats here, I think we get tomb bats as well. So 3 or 4 different kinds, but what species exactly, I don't know. You know, there's all groups of bats. They're not specific species. I'm afraid I know very little about bats, other than that you don't want to be eating them or touching them, because if there is a zoonotic disease to be caught, a bat is going to give it to you. Oh, I should probably take my spotlight out, or I won't see the great horde of leopards about to cross the road in front of me. That would be a tragedy. Paige, they're able to carry diseases like they do that are unfamiliar to us, because they're just so very distantly related, and so, you know, we probably carry diseases that would affect them as well. It's not that they are exceptionally riddled with diseases, I don't think. It's much more that we are just so distantly related that we don't carry the same antibodies. As a little duiker running across the road. And so, you know, I don't think they're more riddled with diseases than we are. They might have slightly more powerful immune systems and be able to ward off a greater suite of diseases, but I don't think that that's the case. I'm not sure. That's a really good question. But the more distantly animals are related, quite often, well, I mean, is that really true? Because we don't get diseases from birds, do we? I mean, you can get diseases from birds, obviously, but not anything quite like you can from bats. Well, that's also not true. Bird flu was very similar to, I think, in some respects, to the COVID disease, so maybe it isn't that birds are any much better than bats. But in general, the more distantly you are related to another organism, I suppose, the greater the chance that it will carry something that could affect you in a way that you're unable to fight. That's a very unsatisfactory answer for myself, so I think I'm going to have to do some reading. But I mean, there are lots and lots of different kinds of zoonotic diseases that you can get from any number of animals. Let's go across to Ngala, well, more straight up in that direction to Ngala, and find out what Nikki's doing.
So unfortunately, no luck yet with our last-minute animals. So we're still trying very hard. We actually have taken the riverbed. There's a rock. I nearly thought there might have been something lying down in the sand in front of us. But we're going to carry on, see if there's any other animals, and hopefully within the next 10 seconds we get something. Otherwise, you'll have to tune in for tomorrow morning, because then Eric is going to be driving from here at andBeyond in Ngala, which will be interesting to know what he's going to be looking out for. Hopefully we can find our last minute animal. Okay, oh, and keep those eagle eyes sharp. So while we're going to go look for a last-minute animal, apparently someone has found a last-minute animal. Let's go have a look.
Welcome back, everyone. And speaking of last-minute animals, we've managed to find a sneaky little last-minute leopard here on andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Oh, no. So this area you can see here is very, very thick. And I think he's just disappeared right into it there. We're just going to give it a second and see if he does come back out, though. But as you can see, it's quite a thick area, so there's no way for us to get a vehicle in there. But he was actually on the road as soon as we first saw him, and straight away he chased a big adult male Ngala into the bushes. But it seems like he hasn't come back out. But that was very, very exciting. Believe me, myself and Marcel almost fell off of our chairs when we saw him. And we just came around a corner and he was right in the road in front of us. But I'm hoping he does pop out back on the road just up ahead of us, yeah? No sign of him right here. Okay, let's just move slightly forward. Because he moved off to the right, let's move slightly forward and see if he does come out again. It's always so exciting. Taylor-made, you're asking how often these leopards hunt. It depends when they last ate, really. I didn't get a good enough look at this leopard to see if it had a full belly or not. I didn't even see if it was male or female. But let's say they catch something like an impala, which is a relatively small antelope. They would maybe eat every fourth or fifth day, but they could go even longer. But they are also very
we're just chuckling. We have got the most amazing thing, genre, that we found while sitting here. This is a potter wasp. Excuse me, I'm laughing. It was very, very funny. It took us completely by surprise. This is a potter wasp. And we were actually going to hold this for a little bit longer. And then we came across this thing. This is the most amazing little thing. And you get lots of different kinds. I might actually try find you any of the other ones while we're driving around over the next couple of days. But look at the craftsmanship on this one. And this is just lying on a loose stone. It does have a little hole in the back over there. That's accidental. But the entrance is that top hole over there with the little lip, and it puts caterpillars in there, it lays eggs, and then it closes up, and the youngsters hatch, eat the caterpillar, and then break out and they fly off. That is so cool. But I mean, look at that little masterpiece of nature. All I can say from behalf of Genre and myself is it has been a fantastic day with all of you joining us. It's such a pleasure. There's a buffalo coming to visit us here as well for one last drink. Look at this. And that's going to be our goodbye to you all for the night. It has been such a privilege. See us again tomorrow. Have a good rest. Thank you so much.